Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022, Juneteenth around the U.S., a new federal holiday to celebrate when word of the end of slavery finally reached those still held in Texas. And we begin with a high school senior stunning onlookers with a daring nighttime rescue of a stranger who turned out to be one of his classmates. New driver Mia Somolinsky accidentally hit the gas instead of the brakes while parking on a dock in Long Island, New York. While her little SUV lurched over the side and into the bay, many who heard the splash rushed to watch, but only 17-year-old Anthony Zonger did anything about it. Without hesitation, the young man dove into the pitch-black water and got Mia out seconds before her car sank. According to WNYW, the two teens went to the same high school and live less than a mile apart, but had never met. Mia's dad is praising Anthony as a hero. So too is the local Marine Corps, which Anthony is set to join this week, right after he graduates high school. Hero status also goes to some high school kids in Colorado. When they got wind that no classmates would sign the yearbook of a local sixth grader, they rounded up a huge posse of friends and descended on the boys' middle school. Brody Ritter only had 3 signatures, 2 from teachers and 1 his own, next to a message he wrote that said, "Hope you make more friends." Calling that soul-crushing, the older kids showed up, chanted his name, and took turns filling up the blank pages. A party atmosphere, 100 messages of encouragement, a bunch of phone numbers later, and Brody's own classmates had a change of heart and also wanted to sign. According to the Good News Network, the high schoolers made both Brody and his mom feel better. Maybe, Mom said, there's hope for humanity. There are a lot of good kids in the world. If all is still on track, NASA is now in the final stages of a full dress rehearsal for its massive moon rocket. The 2-day test began Saturday and is supposed to end today, with engineers loading 750,000 gallons of super cold liquid oxygen and hydrogen fuel into the rocket's first and second stages. Then the plan is to run the countdown to T-minus 10 seconds. And just before the rocket's 4 main engines fire up for a real launch, computers will stop the test. NASA has so far failed 3 times to complete the sequence. If this attempt succeeds, the agency hopes to use the rocket to launch an unmanned crew for a trip beyond the moon and back as early as August. In other KidNuz notes, the Warriors are celebrating their 4th NBA championship in 8 years with a big parade today through the heart of San Francisco. It starts at 11:20 a.m. Pacific time. Golden State took down Boston in 6 games and did it in front of the Celtic faithful. Icing on the cake for Steph Curry, he was named Finals MVP for the first time in his career. Everyone falls off their bike at some point, even the commander-in-chief. President Biden took a spill over the weekend when he pulled over to talk to well-wishers near his vacation home in Delaware. Mr. Biden says his foot got caught in the tow cage, but he wasn't injured, told everyone he was good, and got right back on. And as expected, the FDA and CDC have now signed off on COVID shots for your youngest brothers and sisters. Vaccinations for those 6 months and older could begin as early as tomorrow, but according to a recent Kaiser Health poll, only 18% of parents say they'll take their tiniest tots in for shots right away. Harry Styles not only knows the value of teachers, he knows how to celebrate them. The pop star stopped a concert last week in Manchester, England, to recognize one of his favorites. "I'm going to ask a favor from you," he told the crowd, "because I'd like to try and find someone in the audience." A few moments later, somewhere in the sea of 26,000 fans, he spotted her. "There she is, Mrs. Vernon," Styles said, falling to his knees as fans cheered. "How are you? I heard you're retiring. I'd just like to thank you for everything in those formative years. It means a lot to me that you're here tonight." Harry then asked the crowd, "Can you imagine dealing with me as a kid?" and went on to sing his next song, Canyon Moon, in her honor. That's it for KidNuz. Now, today's KidNuz quiz. How old is the teen who rescued another from a sinking car? Anthony Zonger of Long Island is 17. What is NASA rehearsing? The launch of its moon rocket. Where was President Biden when he fell off his bike? Near his vacation home in Delaware. What singer stopped a concert to celebrate his former teacher? Harry Styles. In today's KidNuz Kicker, a little more about Juneteenth, which is short for June 19th. It marks the day in 1865 when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to make sure the state abided by the Emancipation Proclamation, which had been signed by President Lincoln and ended slavery 2.5 years earlier. All owners were supposed to tell their slaves that they were free right away, but many in Texas had not. Juneteenth is now considered the longest-running African-American holiday, and last year President Biden gave it federal status. Technically, yesterday was Juneteenth, but because it was a Sunday, all observances moved to today. There will be no mail delivery in banks, federal courts, and offices are all closed. Thanks for listening. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you back here for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.